Principal humiliates poor boy for no uniform. Then father arrives and reveals shocking truth. The sun beat down on the parched earth, baking the dusty streets of Avani, a small town nestled in the heart of rural India. Life here was a constant struggle, a dance of survival dictated by the capricious monsoon and the unforgiving sun. For 12-year-old Rohan, this struggle was particularly acute. He lived with his parents in a tiny, crumbling hut on the outskirts of town, a dwelling that offered little respite from the harsh realities of their existence. His father, a man weathered by years of toil in the fields, earned a meager wage as a farmhand, barely enough to keep their stomachs from rumbling. His mother, her body ravaged by illness, spent her days confined to their meager home, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by the relentless burden of poverty. Rohan, however, was a beacon of hope in their impoverished world. His eyes, though reflecting the hardships he endured, sparkled with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. He was a bright spark in the dilapidated classroom of the local government school, his worn textbooks and dog-eared notebooks his most treasured possessions. He devoured knowledge with an insatiable hunger, his mind a fertile ground where the seeds of learning blossomed into a vibrant garden of understanding. Despite his academic prowess, Rohan was often the target of scorn from his more affluent classmates. They mocked his threadbare clothes, his patched-up shirts, and his faded trousers, a stark contrast to their crisp, pristine uniforms. They sneered at his worn-out sandals, their expensive shoes gleaming with an air of superiority. Rohan, however, bore their taunts with a quiet dignity, his focus unwavering, his spirit unbroken. He knew that education was his only escape from the clutches of poverty, his only hope for a better future. One afternoon, as Rohan sat immersed in his studies, the classroom door creaked open, casting an ominous shadow across his desk. Mr. Sharma, the school principal, a man known for his rigid adherence to rules and regulations, stood at the threshold, his stern gaze sweeping across the room. His eyes settled on Rohan, his attire a blatant violation of the school's mandatory uniform policy. Rohan, Mr. Sharma's voice boomed across the classroom, silencing the hushed whispers and curious stares. Step outside. Rohan's heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat of fear echoing in his ears. He rose from his seat, his legs trembling, his cheeks burning with shame. He followed Mr. Sharma out of the classroom, his classmates' eyes boring into his back, their whispers like daggers piercing his fragile self-esteem. Mr. Sharma led him to a secluded corner of the schoolyard, away from the prying eyes and curious ears. He towered over Rohan, his expression a mask of disapproval. Rohan, he began, his voice laced with disdain. Why are you not in proper uniform? This is a blatant disregard for school regulations. The uniform is a symbol of discipline and order, a mark of respect for this institution. Rohan's voice caught in his throat, his eyes welling up with tears. Sir, he stammered, I don't have a uniform. Mr. Sharma's frown deepened, his eyes hardening. Don't lie to me, boy, he snapped. Every student in this school has a uniform. It is your parents' responsibility to provide you with one. This is negligence on their part, a clear indication of their lack of respect for this institution. Rohan's tears flowed freely now, his humiliation complete. He wished the earth would open up and swallow him whole. Mr. Sharma, oblivious to the boy's distress, continued his tirade, his words like hammer blows shattering Rohan's already fragile confidence. This is unacceptable, Rohan, he thundered. You are setting a bad example for the other students. You will report to my office tomorrow morning with your parents. This matter will be dealt with severely. Rohan nodded mutely, his head bowed in shame. He returned to the classroom, the whispers and snickers of his classmates a constant reminder of his humiliation. He sat through the remaining lessons, his mind numb, his heart heavy with dread. The walk home was a blur of emotions. Shame, fear, anger, and a deep sense of injustice churned within him. He dreaded facing his parents, adding to their already overwhelming burden. He knew they couldn't afford a uniform, a luxury beyond their meager means. As Rohan approached his humble dwelling, he saw his father sitting on the porch, his weathered face etched with the day's labor, his shoulders slumped, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. Rohan's heart sank. How could he burden his father with this new problem, this fresh layer of worry on his already weary shoulders? He hesitated at the threshold, his courage failing him. But his father, sensing his presence, looked up, his eyes softening with concern. "Rohan," he said, his voice rough with fatigue. "Come, sit with me." Rohan approached his father, his steps heavy, his head bowed. He sat beside him, his silence speaking volumes. "What troubles you, my son?" his father asked, his hand gently resting on Rohan's shoulder. Rohan took a deep breath, steeling himself for the difficult conversation. He recounted the day's events, his voice trembling with emotion. He described Mr. Sharma's harsh words, the humiliation he felt, the dread of the impending meeting. His father listened patiently, his expression growing grave with each passing word. When Rohan finished, a long silence hung between them, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant barking of dogs. Finally, his father spoke, his voice low and steady. "Rohan," he said, "you will go to school tomorrow in your best clothes. I will accompany you to Mr. Sharma's office." Rohan looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. "But father," he protested, "what good will that do? We can't afford a uniform." His father's eyes hardened with resolve. "We may be poor, Rohan," he said, "but we are not without dignity. We will not be treated with disrespect. We will not be denied your right to an education because of a piece of cloth." The next morning, Rohan, dressed in his cleanest shirt and trousers, his hair neatly combed, stood nervously beside his father in the principal's office. Mr. Sharma, seated behind his imposing desk, looked up as they entered, his expression one of impatience. "Ah, Rohan, and this must be your father," he said, his voice laced with condescension. "I trust you have come prepared to explain this blatant disregard for school regulations." Rohan's father stepped forward, his eyes meeting Mr. Sharma's with unwavering determination. "Mr. Sharma," he began, his voice calm but firm, "my son has not disregarded any regulations. He is a bright and hardworking student who takes his education seriously. He does not have a uniform because we cannot afford one." Mr. Sharma's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "You cannot afford a uniform?" he repeated, his voice incredulous. "But surely you can manage a small expense like that. It is a matter of priority." Rohan's father's jaw tightened. "Mr. Sharma," he said, his voice rising, "you speak of priorities from the comfort of your office, surrounded by your books and your rules. You have no idea what it means to prioritize. For us, priority is putting food on the table, ensuring my son has a roof over his head, and providing him with the basic necessities of life. A school uniform, I am afraid, is a luxury we cannot afford." Mr. Sharma's face flushed red, his initial surprise giving way to anger. "This is outrageous," he sputtered. "You are trying to justify your negligence. The school uniform is mandatory for all students. There are no exceptions." Rohan's father stood his ground, his voice unwavering. "Mr. Sharma, I understand the importance of the uniform, but I will not apologize for my inability to provide something I cannot afford. My son is a good student, and he deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of his attire." The two men stood locked in a battle of wills, their voices echoing through the small office. Rohan, caught in the crossfire, felt a surge of pride for his father, who stood tall and defiant against the principal's authority. He had never seen his father like this before, his voice ringing with conviction, his eyes blazing with righteous anger. Mr. Sharma, accustomed to unquestioning obedience, was taken aback by Rohan's father's audacity. He had expected apologies, pleas for leniency, perhaps even a promise to somehow procure the elusive uniform. Instead, he was met with defiance, a challenge to his authority. He struggled to regain control of the situation, his anger masking a growing sense of unease. "This is not a matter for debate," he blustered. "The rules are clear. No uniform, no education. Your son will not be allowed to attend classes until he is properly attired." Rohan's father's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Sharma," he said, his voice dangerously low, "you are denying my son an education because of a piece of cloth? Is that what this school stands for? Is that the message you want to send to your students?" Mr. Sharma's bluster faltered. Rohan's father's words struck a chord deep within him, echoing in the cavernous chambers of his conscience. He looked at Rohan, who stood silently beside his father, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope, a silent plea for understanding. And in that moment, something shifted within Mr. Sharma. He saw Rohan not as a rebellious student flouting the rules, but as a young boy yearning for knowledge, a boy whose spirit shone bright despite the weight of poverty he carried on his small shoulders. He saw Rohan's father not as a negligent parent, but as a loving father fiercely defending his son's right to an education, a man whose pride was not arrogance, but a shield against the constant blows of hardship. A wave of shame washed over Mr. Sharma, hot and stinging. He, a man of education, a guardian of knowledge, had been blinded by his rigid adherence to rules, his obsession with order and conformity. He had forgotten the very essence of his profession, the noble purpose of education: to empower, to enlighten, to uplift. He had allowed himself to become a gatekeeper, denying entry to a deserving student based on a superficial requirement, a piece of cloth that held no bearing on the boy's intellect or potential. He had failed Rohan, failed his father, and failed himself. He had allowed the system, with its impersonal rules and regulations, to override his humanity, his compassion. He had become a cog in the machine, perpetuating the very inequalities he was supposed to be fighting against. This realization was a revelation, a painful awakening that shook him to his core. He saw the school not as a beacon of knowledge and opportunity, but as a reflection of the societal biases and prejudices that kept the poor and marginalized on the fringes. He saw the uniform not as a symbol of discipline, but as a barrier, a marker of privilege that excluded those who could not afford it. He looked at Rohan's father, his anger replaced by a newfound respect, a deep admiration for the man's courage and conviction. He saw in him the strength of a father's love, the unwavering determination to provide his son with a better future. "Mister, I apologize," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper, his usual authority replaced by a humility he had never felt before. "I have been too harsh. I have misjudged you and your son." He turned to Rohan, his expression softening, his eyes filled with remorse. "Rohan," he said, "I am truly sorry for my behavior. You are a bright and deserving student, and you have every right to be here. Please continue your studies. We will find a way to address the uniform issue." Rohan's father's face relaxed, a hint of a smile touching his lips. He nodded gratefully at Mr. Sharma, a silent acknowledgement of the principal's change of heart. Rohan, his heart swelling with relief and gratitude, looked at his father, his eyes shining with admiration. He had witnessed his father's courage, his unwavering belief in him, and in that moment, their bond deepened, forged in the fires of adversity. Mr. Sharma, his conscience awakened, his perspective transformed, felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was determined to make amends, to rectify his mistake, to create a school where every child, regardless of their background, felt welcomed, valued, and empowered. He rose from his chair, his demeanor transformed. He was no longer the stern, unyielding principal, but a man humbled by his own shortcomings, a man determined to make a difference. "Please have a seat," he said, gesturing towards the chairs facing his desk. "Let us discuss how we can ensure that Rohan continues his education without any further hindrance." Rohan and his father sat down, their initial apprehension replaced by a cautious optimism. Mr. Sharma, his voice now gentle and respectful, explored various options. He spoke of scholarship programs, of financial aid, of community initiatives to support underprivileged students. He promised to personally ensure that Rohan received the necessary resources to continue his education. As they left the principal's office, Rohan felt a weight lifted from his shoulders. He walked with a newfound confidence, his head held high, his heart filled with hope. He knew that this incident had not only secured his right to an education but had also sparked a change, a shift in the school's rigid structure, a crack in the wall of prejudice and inequality. The news of Mr. Sharma's change of heart spread through the school like wildfire. Rohan, once the subject of ridicule, was now regarded with a newfound respect. His classmates, who had previously mocked him for his poverty, now looked at him with a mixture of admiration and guilt. Some even approached him, offering apologies and shy gestures of friendship. Rohan, overwhelmed by this unexpected turn of events, found himself cautiously accepting their overtures, his heart slowly opening to the possibility of belonging. But the incident had a profound impact on Rohan. He realized that his father's defiance had not just secured his right to an education. It had also challenged the deep-seated prejudices and inequalities that existed within the school and the wider community. He understood that his father's actions had not only defended his dignity but had also sparked a conversation, a questioning of the status quo. This realization ignited a fire in Rohan. He became more vocal in class, participating actively in discussions, challenging his teachers and classmates to think critically about social issues. He joined the school debating team, using his newfound voice to advocate for equality and justice. He became a beacon of hope for the less privileged students, a symbol of resilience and determination. However, Rohan's newfound activism did not sit well with everyone. Some teachers, accustomed to passive obedience, found his questioning attitude disruptive. A few of his wealthier classmates, their privilege threatened by his outspokenness, resorted to subtle forms of bullying, spreading rumors and whispering behind his back. But Rohan refused to be silenced. He had found his voice, and he was determined to use it. He started a study group for students who were struggling academically, offering them help and encouragement. He organized a book drive, collecting donations from the community to create a small library in his neighborhood. He even wrote letters to the local newspaper, highlighting the challenges faced by underprivileged students and advocating for greater access to education. His actions, though small, began to make a difference. More students started attending the study group, their grades improving, their confidence growing. The library became a hub of learning, a sanctuary for children who had no access to books or a quiet place to study. His letters to the newspaper sparked a debate in the community, raising awareness about the inequalities in the education system. Rohan's activism, however, came at a cost. He faced opposition from those who were resistant to change, those who benefited from the status quo. Some teachers accused him of being disruptive, of inciting unrest among the students. Some parents complained that he was distracting their children from their studies, that his activism was detrimental to their academic performance. But Rohan refused to be deterred. He knew that he was fighting for a just cause, that his actions were making a difference. He found support from unexpected quarters. Some teachers, inspired by his passion and commitment, encouraged him to continue his efforts. Some parents, recognizing the value of his work, offered him their support and resources. And then there was Mr. Sharma, the principal who had once reprimanded Rohan for his lack of uniform, now became his biggest supporter. He saw in Rohan the embodiment of the change he wanted to see in the school, the spirit of activism and social responsibility he wanted to foster in all his students. He encouraged Rohan's initiatives, providing him with resources and guidance. He defended him against his detractors, advocating for his right to express his views, to challenge the status quo. He even started incorporating social issues into the school curriculum, encouraging students to think critically about the world around them. Rohan, with the support of Mr. Sharma and other like-minded individuals, continued his activism, his voice growing stronger, his impact widening. He became a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of one individual to make a difference. Mr. Sharma, grappling with the consequences of his actions, embarked on a journey of self-reflection. He realized that his rigid adherence to rules had blinded him to the realities of his students' lives. He had been so focused on maintaining order and discipline that he had forgotten the true purpose of education: to empower individuals, to foster critical thinking, to create responsible citizens. Determined to make amends, Mr. Sharma initiated a series of reforms within the school. He introduced a scholarship program for underprivileged students, providing financial assistance for uniforms, books, and other essential supplies. He organized workshops for teachers, emphasizing the importance of empathy and sensitivity in dealing with students from diverse backgrounds. He even started a community outreach program, involving parents and local leaders in addressing the challenges faced by the school and its students. These changes were met with mixed reactions. Some teachers welcomed the reforms, embracing the opportunity to create a more inclusive and equitable learning environment. Others, resistant to change, grumbled about the disruption to the established order. Some parents, particularly those from wealthier families, expressed concerns about the school's focus shifting away from academic excellence. But Mr. Sharma remained steadfast in his commitment to reform. He believed that a truly good school was not just about academic achievements. It was about nurturing the whole child, fostering their intellectual, emotional, and social development. He was determined to create a school where every child, regardless of their background, felt valued, respected, and empowered. He started by addressing the concerns of the teachers. He organized workshops and training sessions, focusing on inclusive teaching practices, differentiated instruction, and culturally responsive pedagogy. He encouraged teachers to create a classroom environment where every student felt safe, respected, and valued, regardless of their background or abilities. He also addressed the concerns of the parents. He organized parent-teacher meetings, providing a platform for open dialogue and feedback. He created a parent advisory committee, giving parents a direct voice in the school's decision-making process. He also initiated a series of community events, bringing together students, parents, and local leaders to discuss the challenges faced by the school and its students. One of his most significant initiatives was the establishment of a school-wide mentoring program. He paired older students with younger ones, providing guidance and support, fostering a sense of community and belonging. He also encouraged students to participate in extracurricular activities, providing them with opportunities to develop their talents and interests, to build their confidence and self-esteem. Mr. Sharma's efforts gradually transformed the school. The classrooms became more inclusive, the teachers more empathetic, the students more engaged. The school became a place where every child felt welcomed, valued, and empowered, regardless of their background or circumstances. The incident with Mr. Sharma had not only transformed Rohan's relationship with his school, but also deepened his bond with his father. He had always admired his father's hard work and quiet strength, but now he saw him in a new light, as a courageous defender of his rights, a man who stood up for what he believed in, even in the face of authority. Their conversations became more frequent and meaningful. Rohan would share his experiences at school, his newfound activism, his hopes and dreams for the future. His father, in turn, would offer words of encouragement, sharing his own life lessons, his belief in the power of education to break the cycle of poverty. One evening, as they sat together under the starry sky, Rohan turned to his father, his voice filled with gratitude. "Father," he said, "thank you for what you did that day. You not only defended me but also showed me what it means to be a man of principle." His father smiled, his eyes twinkling in the moonlight. "Rohan," he said, "I am proud of the young man you are becoming. Never be afraid to speak your mind, to stand up for what you believe in. Remember, education is not just about books and exams. It is about using your knowledge to make a difference in the world." Their bond extended beyond words. They started spending more time together, sharing chores, working in their small vegetable garden, and taking walks in the nearby fields. Rohan learned about his father's childhood, his struggles, his dreams. He understood the sacrifices his father had made to provide him with an education, the hardships he had endured to give him a better life. Rohan's relationship with his mother also deepened during this time. His mother, though frail in health, was a pillar of strength for the family. She had always encouraged Rohan's education, seeing it as his ticket to a better life. After the incident with Mr. Sharma, she became even more protective of Rohan, showering him with love and support. She would often sit with him as he studied, listening patiently as he read aloud from his textbooks, her eyes filled with pride. She would tell him stories of her own childhood, of the hardships she had faced, of her dreams for her son. Rohan, in turn, would confide in her, sharing his fears and anxieties, his hopes and aspirations. He would help her with household chores, fetching water from the well, cooking simple meals, and tending to her needs. He would read to her from his books, sharing his newfound knowledge, bringing a spark of joy to her weary eyes. He would sing her songs, filling their small hut with music, momentarily easing the burden of their poverty. Rohan's relationship with his parents became his anchor, his source of strength and inspiration. He realized that their love and support were his greatest assets, the foundation upon which he built his dreams. He also started forming meaningful relationships with his classmates. The apologies and gestures of friendship he received after the incident with Mr. Sharma opened doors to new connections. He started interacting with students from different backgrounds, sharing his experiences, learning about their lives. He found common ground with some of his wealthier classmates, discovering shared interests and passions. He challenged their prejudices, opening their eyes to the realities of poverty and inequality. He also learned from them, appreciating their perspectives, broadening his own understanding of the world. He formed close friendships with some of the less privileged students, sharing their struggles, supporting each other's dreams. They studied together, helped each other with their homework, and encouraged each other to overcome their challenges. Rohan's social circle expanded, his relationships deepened. He learned the value of friendship, the importance of community, the power of empathy and understanding. The annual school debate competition was approaching, and Rohan was determined to make his mark. He had chosen the topic of social inequality, a subject close to his heart. He spent weeks researching and preparing, crafting his arguments, practicing his delivery. He knew that this was his chance to not only showcase his debating skills, but also to raise awareness about the issues that plagued his community. He delved into books, articles, and reports, gathering data and statistics, studying different perspectives on the issue. He discussed his ideas with his father, his teachers, and his classmates, refining his arguments, strengthening his stance. He practiced his delivery in front of his family, his friends, and even the mirror, honing his skills, building his confidence. The day of the competition arrived, and the school auditorium was abuzz with excitement. Students, teachers, and parents filled the seats, eager to witness the clash of minds, the battle of words. Rohan, dressed in his best clothes, his heart pounding with a mix of nerves and anticipation, took his place on the stage. His opponent was a girl from a wealthy family, known for her eloquence and confidence. She was a formidable opponent, her arguments well-researched, her delivery polished. The debate began, and the two contestants clashed, their voices echoing through the auditorium, their words painting vivid pictures of contrasting realities. Rohan spoke with passion and conviction, drawing on his own experiences, highlighting the injustices faced by the less privileged. He spoke of the children who dropped out of school because they couldn't afford uniforms or books, the families who struggled to put food on the table, the communities that lacked basic amenities like clean water and sanitation. He argued for equal opportunities, for a society where everyone, regardless of their background, had the chance to succeed. He spoke of the need for affordable education, healthcare, and housing, the importance of empowering the marginalized, the responsibility of the privileged to create a more just and equitable society. His opponent countered with arguments about meritocracy, about the importance of individual effort and responsibility. She spoke of the dangers of entitlement, of the need for self-reliance. She argued that success was earned, not given, that individuals should take responsibility for their own lives, that the government should not be expected to provide for everyone. The audience listened intently, captivated by the clash of ideas, the contrasting perspectives. The judges, seated at the front of the auditorium, scribbled notes, their faces etched with concentration. The tension in the room was palpable, the air thick with anticipation. As the debate reached its climax, Rohan delivered a powerful closing statement. He spoke of his father's defiance, of Mr. Sharma's transformation, of the changes taking place within the school. He argued that true progress was not just about individual achievement but about collective responsibility, about creating a society where everyone had the opportunity to reach their full potential. He spoke of the interconnectedness of society, the responsibility of the privileged to uplift the less fortunate, the power of empathy and understanding to bridge the gap between different social groups. He argued that a society that valued only individual achievement was a society that left many behind, that true progress was measured by the well-being of its most vulnerable members. His words resonated with the audience, their applause echoing through the auditorium. The judges, impressed by his passion, his eloquence, and his well-reasoned arguments, declared him the winner. Rohan, beaming with pride, accepted the trophy, his heart filled with a sense of accomplishment. But the true victory was not the trophy, but the impact his words had on the audience. The debate had sparked a conversation, a dialogue about social inequality, about the role of education in addressing these issues. Students from different backgrounds started interacting more, sharing their experiences, challenging their own prejudices. Teachers became more mindful of the diverse needs of their students, adapting their teaching methods to create a more inclusive learning environment. The debate competition had a significant impact on the school community. It sparked conversations about social inequality, about the role of education in addressing these issues. Students from different backgrounds began to interact more, sharing their experiences, challenging their own prejudices. Teachers became more mindful of the diverse needs of their students, adapting their teaching methods to create a more inclusive learning environment. Mr. Sharma, encouraged by these positive changes, continued his efforts to reform the school. He organized community events, bringing together students, parents, and local leaders to discuss the challenges faced by the school and its students. He established a mentorship program, pairing older students with younger ones, providing guidance and support. He even initiated a fundraising drive to build a new library, providing students with access to a wider range of books and resources. However, not everyone was happy with these changes. Some parents, particularly those from wealthier families, expressed concerns about the school's focus shifting away from academic excellence. They worried that the emphasis on social issues was distracting from the core curriculum, that their children were being disadvantaged. Mr. Sharma, ever since his interaction with Rohan and his father, had become a better listener. He patiently addressed their concerns, acknowledging their anxieties. He explained that his goal was not to compromise academic standards, but to create a more holistic learning environment, one that nurtured the whole child, fostering their intellectual, emotional, and social development. He argued that a truly good education was not just about grades and exams. It was about preparing students to be responsible citizens, contributing members of society. To address their concerns more concretely, Mr. Sharma organized a series of parent-teacher meetings, providing a platform for open dialogue and feedback. He invited guest speakers, experts in education and child development, to share their insights and perspectives. He also formed a parent advisory committee, giving parents a direct voice in the school's decision-making process. These efforts gradually eased the anxieties of the concerned parents. They began to see the value in the reforms, recognizing that a more inclusive and supportive learning environment benefited all students, regardless of their background. They also appreciated Mr. Sharma's willingness to listen to their concerns, to involve them in the school's decision-making process. Mr. Sharma didn't stop there. He recognized that true change required a multi-pronged approach. He reached out to local businesses and organizations, seeking partnerships and sponsorships to support the school's initiatives. He organized career fairs and workshops, exposing students to different career paths, helping them explore their interests and talents. He even initiated a program where students could volunteer in the local community, applying their knowledge and skills to real-world problems. Through these efforts, Mr. Sharma transformed the school into a vibrant hub of learning and community engagement. The school became a place where students not only excelled academically but also developed their character, their social responsibility, and their civic consciousness. One day, a group of students, inspired by Rohan's activism and Mr. Sharma's leadership, approached the principal with a proposal. They wanted to organize a fundraising event to support the school's scholarship program for underprivileged students. They had witnessed the transformative power of education in their own lives, and they wanted to ensure that every child had the opportunity to access quality education, regardless of their financial circumstances. Mr. Sharma was deeply touched by their initiative. He saw in them the seeds of change, the future leaders who would carry the torch of social responsibility and create a more just and equitable society. He gave them his full support, providing guidance and resources, empowering them to take ownership of their project. The students, with the help of some teachers and parents, organized a cultural fair, showcasing the diverse talents and traditions of the school community. There were dance performances, musical recitals, art exhibitions, and food stalls, each representing the rich tapestry of cultures that made up the school. The event was a celebration of diversity, a testament to the power of unity in diversity. The cultural fair was not just a fundraising event. It was a community-building exercise. It brought together students, parents, teachers, and local residents, fostering a sense of belonging, breaking down barriers, and creating a shared vision for the future of the school. The event was a resounding success, attracting a large crowd and raising a significant amount of money for the scholarship program. But more importantly, it created a sense of ownership and responsibility among the students. They realized that they could make a difference, that their actions could have a positive impact on their community. The success of the cultural fair marked a turning point for the school. It solidified the sense of community, bridging the gap between different social groups. It demonstrated the power of collective action, the ability of individuals to come together to make a difference. It also reinforced the school's commitment to inclusivity and equality, its dedication to providing every child with the opportunity to succeed. The school, once a rigid institution focused on rules and regulations, had transformed into a dynamic and inclusive learning community. It was a place where students felt valued, respected, and empowered, where they learned not only academic subjects but also the values of empathy, social responsibility, and civic engagement. This transformation was not just limited to the school. It rippled through the wider community, inspiring other schools and organizations to adopt similar initiatives. The story of Rohan and his father, of Mr. Sharma's change of heart, and of the students' activism became a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of individuals to create positive change. Rohan, now in his final year of school, had blossomed into a confident and articulate young man. He was a leader among his peers, a role model for the younger students. He continued to excel in his studies, his dream of a better future burning brighter than ever. He had also become a passionate advocate for social justice, using his voice to raise awareness about the issues that plagued his community. He was no longer the shy, timid boy who had once stood humiliated in the principal's office. He had found his voice, his purpose, his place in the world. He was a leader, a mentor, an activist, a voice for the voiceless. He often reflected on the incident with Mr. Sharma, recognizing it as a pivotal moment in his life. It had taught him the importance of standing up for what he believed in, of challenging injustice, of using his voice to make a difference. It had also shown him the power of empathy, the ability to understand and connect with others, regardless of their background. He understood that his journey was not just about his own personal growth and success. It was about creating a better world for everyone, a world where every child had the opportunity to reach their full potential, regardless of their background or circumstances. He was grateful for his father's courage, for his mother's unwavering support, for Mr. Sharma's transformation. He realized that their actions had not only shaped his own life, but had also contributed to a positive change within the school and the wider community. He saw his father not just as a hardworking farmer, but as a man of principle, a man who stood up for what he believed in, even in the face of authority. He saw his mother not just as a frail woman battling illness, but as a pillar of strength, a source of unconditional love and support. He saw Mr. Sharma not just as a stern principal but as a compassionate leader, a champion of change. He was grateful for the friendships he had formed, the relationships he had built. He realized that his journey was not a solitary one, that he was surrounded by people who believed in him, who supported him, who inspired him. One day, Mr. Sharma called Rohan to his office. He had received a letter from a prestigious university, offering Rohan a full scholarship to pursue his higher education. Rohan's heart swelled with joy and gratitude. He thanked Mr. Sharma for his support, recognizing that his dream was becoming a reality because of the opportunities he had been given. Mr. Sharma smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "Rohan," he said, "you have earned this scholarship through your hard work and dedication. You are an inspiration to us all. Go out there and make a difference in the world." Rohan accepted the scholarship, his heart filled with hope and determination. He knew that this was just the beginning of his journey, that he had a long way to go, that there were many challenges ahead. But he was ready to face them, armed with the lessons he had learned, the values he had embraced, and the support of his family, his friends, and his community. Rohan left Avani to pursue his dreams, carrying with him the lessons he had learned, the values he had embraced. He went on to become a successful lawyer, using his skills and knowledge to fight for the rights of the marginalized and the oppressed. He never forgot his roots, returning to Avani whenever he could, contributing to the development of his community, inspiring the next generation of students. He became a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience and determination. He used his voice to advocate for social justice, to challenge inequality, to empower the less fortunate. He established a foundation to support underprivileged students, providing them with scholarships, mentoring, and other resources. He also worked with local organizations to improve the living conditions in his community, advocating for better healthcare, sanitation, and education facilities. The story of Rohan and his father is a testament to the power of courage, the importance of standing up for what is right, even in the face of adversity. It highlights the transformative power of education, its ability to break the cycle of poverty, to empower individuals, to create a more just and equitable society. It also underscores the importance of empathy and understanding, the need to bridge the gap between different social groups, to create a community where everyone feels valued and respected. It is a story about the power of one individual to make a difference, the ripple effect of a single act of courage, the transformative potential of education, and the importance of community engagement. It is a story that resonates with the universal desire for justice, equality, and opportunity, a story that inspires hope and encourages action. Rohan's journey exemplifies the transformative power of education. It shows how education can empower individuals, break the cycle of poverty, and inspire social change. It also highlights the importance of creating an inclusive and supportive learning environment where every child feels valued and respected, regardless of their background or circumstances. The story also underscores the importance of leadership and mentorship. Mr. Sharma's transformation from a rigid enforcer of rules to a compassionate leader demonstrates the impact that a single individual can have on an entire community. His willingness to listen, to learn, and to change created a ripple effect, inspiring others to embrace a more inclusive and equitable vision for the school and the community. Furthermore, the story emphasizes the power of collective action. The students' initiative to organize the cultural fair and support the scholarship program showcases the potential of young people to make a difference in their communities. It highlights the importance of collaboration, empathy, and social responsibility in creating a more just and equitable society. The story of Rohan, his father, and Mr. Sharma is a powerful reminder that change is possible, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. It is a story that inspires hope, encourages action, and reminds us that we all have a role to play in creating a better world for ourselves and for future generations. It is a story that celebrates the human spirit's resilience, the transformative power of education, and the importance of community engagement in building a more just and equitable society. Ultimately, this story serves as a call to action, urging us to challenge injustice, to embrace diversity, and to work together to create a world where every child has the opportunity to reach their full potential. It is a story that reminds us that education is not just about acquiring knowledge, but about using that knowledge to make a positive impact on the world, to create a society where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered.